students, welcome to day 49 of 99% in 99 days for your class 10 CBSE board. So students, now today is Sunday, and as you remember, every Sunday we conduct a mock test on the chapters that we have completed in that particular week. So in today's test we are going to solve questions from carbon and its compound and how do organisms reproduce. Okay, so now the first part of this video will be discussed by me, where I'll be discussing the solutions of first 12 questions, and the next questions from 13 to next will be taken up by your Jasmine ma'am, your bio faculty. Okay, so students, now let's get started without any further delay. Okay, so in this particular lecture you will be having 6 MCQs, 2 marker 2 questions, 3 marker 2 questions, 1 5 marker question and 1 4 marker question. Okay, so let us quickly discuss the questions. So the first question here is, when sodium hydrogen carbonate is added to ethanoic acid, a gas evolves. Consider the following statement about the gas. So you can see, when acid and sodium hydrogen carbonate reacts, we get salt, right, plus CO2 plus water, right? So water, it turns lime water milky. Yes, this is correct. It is evolved with brisk effervescence. That is also correct. It is also a byproduct of respiration. That is also correct. It doesn't have burning sulfur smell. So we have A, B and D. So option number D is the correct answer here. Okay. Next, okay, so students, before going forward, here something I want to announce, that is your DSAT or Diksha Scholastic Aptitude Test. So this is something which will help you to choose the best career option for you, where you will be getting a 1-hour lecture and then you will be solving a question test, or you will be giving a test on that particular lecture, which will be evaluated, and then you will have a one-on-one mentorship where you will know about your strength and weakness, and you will get a guidance regarding which course is the right choice for you. Okay, so students, while taking this difficult decision, please do not make any mistake. So quickly go and register for DSAT. Link is there in the description section. Okay, so let's get forward now. Question number 2 is, in a homologous series of alcohols, the formula for the second member is C2H5OH and the third member is C3H7OH. The difference between the molecular masses of the 2 consecutive members of homologous units is 144. No, this is 14U, right? So this is wrong. So assertion is correct, but reason is false. Okay. Next, we have 3 members are given of homologous series. A series of compounds with same functional group but differing by CH2 group is called a homologous series. Yes, this assertion is correct and reason is explanation. So option number A here. Next, we have the structure is given. So okay, so how many free electrons are there in the second carbon? So you can see there are 2 free electrons. Option number B, directly from the structure you can see. Next question is asked about the homologous series. Which of the compounds is a part of the series shown? So you can see here C3H4. Okay, so how we are getting this one? I can write CnH2n minus 2. So if I put 3 here, 3 to the 6 minus 2 is Ca3H4. Similarly, 4 to the 8 minus 2 6, 5 to the 10. So if I put C2H2, 2 to the 4 minus 2, so option number A. Okay. Next is your, which of the following is not observed in a homologous series? Give reason. So change in chemical properties, difference in CH2 not observed, right? So there is no change in chemical properties because they have the same functional group. This is correct, and this is also correct. Okay. Now we'll go to 2 marker type questions. So carbon prefers to share its valence electron with other atoms of carbon or with the atoms of other elements rather than gaining or losing electrons. So this question we know, it cannot gain 4 electrons because it is difficult for 6 protons to hold 10 electrons, and it cannot even lose 4 electrons because for this we need a huge amount of energy, right? So you can see here this point we have written gain of 4 electrons and loss of 4 electrons, why it is difficult. Okay, next, write the chemical formula of 2 consecutive homologous series of organic compounds having the functional group OH. What happens to the boiling point and the solubility of organic compound of homologous series as the molecular masses increases? Okay, so 2 consecutive members you can write methanol and ethanol, CH3OH, CH3OH. Now, if what will happen to boiling point? So when the mass will increase, right? The intermolecular forces will increase. So when the molecular masses will increase, the boiling point will also increase. Okay. And what about the solubility? When the mass increases, the solubility will decrease. Okay. Next is question number 9 here. Consider the following organic compounds. Name the functional group present in these compounds. Okay, so here if you see both the functional group present, it is aldehyde. Okay, write the general formula for the compounds of this functional group. So you can just write down general formula. You can see here, see the general formula of any group, it is CN. Okay, so I can write H2NO, right? General formula CN H2NO. Next, state the relationship between these compounds and draw the structure of any other compound having the same functional group. Okay, so what is the relationship between them? So they are the homologous series, right? These are the homologous series. There is here 2 carbon and here 3 carbon. Next, if I draw 4 carbon, just you have to add one CH2 group here. Okay. Next is draw the structures of ethanol and ethanoic acid. Why is the conversion of ethanol to ethanoic acid considered as an oxidation reaction? Write the oxidizing agent involved in this reaction. Okay. So, 1 second students. Okay, so we have entered now 3 marker. Okay, so that is why. So, structure of ethanol and ethanoic acid. So, if I draw structure of ethanol, it is like this: CH3, CH2, OH. Okay. Next we have ethanoic acid. So that is CH3, CH2, CO. Okay, sorry, it was ethanoic acid, right? So we don't need any ethanoic acid. Next, why is the conversion of ethanol to ethanoic acid considered as an oxidation reaction? It is considered as oxidation because oxygen is added. Okay. And next, write the oxidizing agent involved here. It is alkaline KMnO4. Okay. Fine. Next is question number 11. Carry out the following conversions. Ethanol to ethene. Okay, so if I see A1, ethanol to ethene, ethanol to ethene. Okay, so here what do we use? Here we use alcohol. You can use dehydration, right? So you can use here concentrated H2SO4. Okay. Next we have A2, okay, ethanol to ethanoic acid, ethanol to ethanoic acid. Okay. Oh, I should write the structure correctly here. CH3 COOH. Okay. So here the reagent used is alkaline KMnO4. Okay. Next, differentiate between addition reaction and substitution reaction. Give an example of each. Okay. So addition reaction is undergone by unsaturated carbons in presence of catalyst to give you saturated carbons. In substitution reaction, one of the atom or group of atom takes the place of another atom. Here you can see an example, CH4 plus Cl2. If you do it this reaction presence of sunlight, one of the hydrogen is replaced with chlorine in CH3, right, CH3Cl. And if you see the example of addition reaction, it is simply like this. Just add H2 and you will get here alkane. Double bond is replaced, right? That is an example. Fine, let us do the last question here. What are soaps? How are they chemically different from detergents? Why do soaps not work effectively in hard water? So what are soaps? All of you can tell. Soaps are the sodium or the potassium salts of long chain fatty acids. Okay. And what are detergents, or how are they chemically different from detergents? Detergents are the sodium salt of benzene sulfonic acid. Okay. Why do soaps do not work in water? So hard water contains magnesium and calcium ions. When soaps get dissolved in this hard water, these ions displace the sodium or potassium ions from the salt and form magnesium or calcium salts of the fatty acids which are insoluble in water, okay, and these insoluble what gets it separated as scum, due to which they cannot be used with hard water, okay. So that's all students. In this class I have discussed all the questions, okay. So now we have so that's all students, we have discussed all the 12 questions, and the next part of this class will be taken by Jasmine ma'am, where she will be discussing the next questions. So do not leave this video, watch completely, okay. Thank you, and let's continue with the bio class now.
Hello my Chutku people, I hope you're done with the questions given by Aishwarya ma'am. Now it's time for biology, and I'm Jasmine Joy. Let's get into the questions from how do organisms reproduce. You would be solving 6 MCQ or basically assertion based question, okay. 6 of them will there, it can be either this, either this, okay, 1 marker question. Now you will be getting 2 2-marker question, 2 3-marker question, there will be 1 5-marker question, and there will be 1 case study based 4-marker question. So without further ado, let's get into the 1-marker question that we have over here. The first question says, the diagram shown below depicts pollination. What do you mean by pollination? Pollination means transfer of pollen grains from the anther where it is being produced to the stigma of a flower. This is known as pollination. Now choose the option that will show maximum variation in the offspring. What do you mean by offspring? Offspring is the baby, progeny that is being produced. So which one will show maximum variation in the progeny? So basically maximum variations appear when there are 2 parents involved in the process of sexual reproduction, okay. When there are 2 parents involved, that means 2 genetic material comes together, gives a whole new variety. If there is only 1 parent involved, okay, if there is only 1 parent involved, then there is only 1 genetic material, there is no too much genetic materials, right, there is no exchange of things, right. So basically there will be lesser variation. So here in the case of a plant, you see basically it's the pollination between either the same, either in the same flower or between the flowers of the same plant. So anyways, however you do, the genetics is going to be the same. The male and the female gamete is definitely sexual reproduction has been taking place over here. Male and the female gamete is fusing, but over here it is all from one particular plant cell only. Okay, so everyone, each of the cells over in this particular plant would be having the same genotype, or sorry, basically the same genetic material. So what's the use? So there won't be much variation. But if this flower and this flower is going to mate, obviously these are 2 different plants, so they will have 2 different genetic material, right. So B and D is basically where we can say if they come and fuse, that's when you see more amount of variation in the offsprings. So this becomes the answer. Second, in a dicot seed, the pore through which the seed absorb water during seed germination is called as my hair. Okay. So basically, what do you mean by dicot seed? Dicot seed is where you have 2 cotyledons. What are cotyledons? Cotyledons are that storage units which would be helping in the formation of shoot and then root. Helping in the formation of shoot and then root. Basically, it helps in the growth of the embryo. Now, if you have 2 cotyledons, you call them dicots, like chickpea and things like that. So basically, anyway, and what do you mean by germination? Germination is when one particular seed is going to give rise to shoot and root. So this particular process does not happen randomly. You should be having all the important, temperature, water requirements, everything should be maintained, then only germination would be happening. So in a dicot seed, the pore through which the seed absorbs water. So initially the water is absorbed by the seed, and that's when the seed germination happens to give rise to shoot and root. So where is that particular place through which the water is being absorbed? That is the question. So in the seed, no. Seed is what? Seed is basically fertilized ovule. And in the ovule, there is a small pore, children, and this pore is known as micropyle. This pore is known as micropyle, through which the pollen tubes were initially carrying the male gametes to make it fuse with the female gametes, to make the zygote, which has already been made as of now. So this micropyle was for that, but now during this particular situation, the water is also getting absorbed through the micropyle, and now it gives a signal, hey, it's okay, you can germinate, water and everything is there, it's a perfect situation. So the answer becomes what? Micropyle. Next, which of these is not a part of male reproductive system? Scrotum. What is scrotum? Scrotum is a sac where the testis is present. It is the sac outside the abdominal cavity of the human body. Why it is outside? Because testis says that I want a 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower than the normal body temperature to make the sperms. So that is the use of testis. It's there in male. Okay, oviduct is also known as fallopian duct, or basically fallopian tube. Fallopian tube is basically for the transport of ovum, and ovum is a female gamete, my dear children. So it's a female reproductive system's organ. So I'll say this is the one that is not a part, but still let's talk about vas deferens. Vas deferens is something that transports sperm. So that is also a duct. Okay, prostate gland is a gland that gives secretion to the sperm. Say like you take calcium, it's very important for you. So it's a gland that helps. So basically this becomes the answer. Next, which among the following is not the function of testis at puberty, my dear children? Formation of germ cells. Does the testis do that? Testis has two major functions. One is formation of germ cell, that is the sperm. The second is production of male sex hormones. Production of male sex hormones. So formation of germ cell is correct, secretion of testosterone is correct, development of placenta is done uterus, secretion of estrogen, again it's a virine hormone, it's female, it happens. So basically I will say what is not the function, children, these are not the function, 3 and 4 are not the function. Cool. Next, assertion question. Double fertilization is unique to angiosperms. Who are angiosperms? Angiosperms are flowering plants. And double fertilization is seen in angiosperms only, flowering plants only. They are the ones that give rise to seed, the fruit and everything. It's not found in anyone else. Okay, not even in gymnosperms. So this is kind of unique and this is correct also. Now triple fusion occurs in both fertilization. What both fertilization? There are two fertilization happening in the plant body, which is why it is known as double fertilization. So basically what happens is that one particular pollen grain carries two male gametes. So there is one male gamete and this one is the second male gamete. Okay. So first fusion takes place with the female gamete over here and this gives rise to zygote. And this procedure is known as fertilization. Okay. Now the second male gamete fuses with what? Fuses with what? The two polar nuclei. There are two polar nuclei also. Okay. In the ovule, no, there is egg cell, there is two polar nuclei. Polar nuclei is in two nuclei and it's a part of a large cell which is known as central cell. So the second male gamete goes fuses with the two polar nuclei. Two polar, this is not second, this is two polar nuclei. Okay. Now what happens, to avoid confusion, I'll do one thing. Instead of writing second like this, I'll write second like this. Works? So this guy had a nucleus, male gamete has a nucleus. These two guys have two nucleus. So how many? Triple time, three nucleus are coming together, which is why it is known as, this particular procedure gives out what? Endosperm. And this is known as triple fusion because three nucleus is coming together. This endosperm is there for providing nourishment to the zygote, which helps in the formation of an embryo later on. Okay, so this is triple fusion. So triple fusion occurs in both fertilization? No, only occurs in one, which is why it is known as triple fusion. Well, this is known as syngamy, or this is known as just fertilization. Since two times the male gamete is coming and fusing, you call these two processes as double fertilization. Okay, so I'll say assertion is true, reason is false. Assertion is true, reason is false. Next question. Surgical methods are most effective methods of contraception. Are they most effective methods of contraception, my dear children? Yes. Because in surgical methods, what are you going to do? You are going to cut the ducts which are going to transport the sperm or the ovum. So if there is no duct to transport it, obviously it won't go and hence fertilization would not happen. Only if they meet, the fertilization will happen. No. Anyways, and this here you are cutting and you are tying. There is no way. So this is the most effective method. Surgical method blocks gamete transport and hence prevent fertilization. That is also true. So I'll say assertion and reason is true, and reason is explaining the assertion as well. Cool? Chalo. Mention, now we have 2 marker question. Mention the functions of placenta, fallopian tube, uterus and ovary in the human female reproductive system. What is the role of placenta? Placenta is being formed so that there is transfer of all the important gases such as oxygen and all from the mother to the embryo. Now from the embryo to the mother, the CO2 and the waste product have to be transported out also. So that is also done by the placenta itself. Placenta becomes the common tissue that you have between the embryo and the mother. Okay, so that is the reason. Okay, so and also it provides nourishment, nutrition and things like that. So major function is transport of what? Oxygen from the mother to the embryo, and from the embryo you have to remove the waste products. If the waste products accumulate, then probably that becomes a problem, so it has to be removed out. Now what is the use of fallopian tube, my dear children? Don't write too much because it's just 2-marker question. What is the use of fallopian tube? Fallopian tube, okay, this is the fallopian tube, for example. So over here you have the ovary, and ovary makes the ovary makes the ovum, and the ovum has to be transported, right? So who is transporting? It cannot fly, right, like that. It has to be transported, so there should be a pathway that has to be offered, that is done by the fallopian tube. So fallopian tube is a pathway for the ovum to get transported, and also it's a site of fertilization. In here there is a part which is known as ampulla, where the ovum and the sperm meet and fertilize. So this is acting as a pathway and also a site for fertilization to happen. Now what is the function of uterus? Uterus is basically there, okay, it is there to provide nourishment to the growing embryo. Uterus, which is there, it has 3 different layers. The innermost layer, which is known as endometrium, is the one that is going to provide initial nourishment to the growing embryo, so that you get a healthy fetus. That is the function of uterus. Now what is the function of ovary? Ovary's function is to do 2 things. One is to produce ovum, second is to produce the ovarian hormones like estrogen, progesterone and everything. If the hormones are not there, then this layer that you see would not be thick, and if it is not thick, will you be able to provide nourishment to the embryo? That is all a problem. Now you see how you have to answer. Placenta provides nourishment to the embryo from the mother's blood and removal of waste products from the embryos to mother's blood. Now fallopian tube releases egg, female gamete, ovum releases estrogen. What? Just a second. Okay, wait. Uterus is there for development of embryo, ovary is there for releasing egg, the female gamete. Okay, releases egg, that is the female gamete or basically ovum. Okay, and then it releases estrogen, the female hormones as well. That is the function of ovary. Now over here the fallopian tube, I don't know why it is written like this. I'll tell you the function. Okay, the function of the fallopian tube, my dear children, is to basically transport of female gamete as well as what? Transport of female gamete as well as the site of fertilization, the site for fertilization. Cool, works. Chalo, next. Differentiate between binary fission in amoeba and binary fission in leishmania. Okay, how does reproduction takes place in malarial parasite? Okay, chalo. Binary fission in amoeba and binary fission in leishmania. Amoeba looks like this. Okay, and leishmania, it is having a structure which is almost like this. Just almost like this. It has a nucleus and all. Okay, leishmania is something that causes something which is known as kala azar, sleeping sickness. So amoeba and leishmania, both of them, they are undergoing binary fission, which means they are going to divide their body into 2, and that division would lead to production of 2 daughter amoebae and here daughter leishmania. Okay, that is the thing. But what is the difference? First difference is that in binary fission, in the case of amoeba, they can undergo binary fission throughout any angle. They can undergo binary fission through any angle. Okay, you also call this as simple or irregular binary fission. You also call this as simple or irregular binary fission. Okay, now when you talk about this, that is leishmania, they have a specific angle. Okay, so they are going to get cut through the longitudinal axis. Since you see there's a flagella over here, so they have to make a new flagella, they have to divide their nucleus also, and they are going to divide it like this, such that you get 2 different leishmania. So over here they are going to have a specific axis, and that is the longitudinal axis. That is the longitudinal axis. Okay, and this is known as longitudinal binary fission. This is known as longitudinal binary fission. Works? Okay. Now, how does reproduction takes place in the malarial parasite? What is a malarial parasite? I told you in the class. They would give you twisted questions like this. If you do not know the malarial parasite, then everything is gone, right? So malarial parasite is, my dear children, Plasmodium. Plasmodium. And how do they do the reproduction? They have asexual mode of reproduction with the help of multiple fission. What happens in multiple fission? Basically, suppose this is their cell, this is the nucleus. The nucleus keeps on dividing. The nucleus keeps on dividing, okay? And they will be protected by a cyst sort of thing over here. Okay, the nucleus is continuously dividing, continuously dividing. Later on, what happens? The cyst breaks open, and this nucleus which is there, it gets surrounded by a little amount of cytoplasm also, and they are going to get released. So from one particular plasmodium getting multiple ones among them, you get it? So this is known as multiple fission. Okay, binary fission means you are getting from one individual, you are getting two individuals. But in the case of multiple fission, from one particular individual, you are getting so many individuals altogether. Got it? So this is the answer, and this is how you have to write. In amoeba, splitting of the cell into two during cell division can take place in any plane. Leishmania has a whip-like structure at one end of the cell. Hence, binary fission occurs in a definite orientation in relation to this structure. You can write simple binary fission and simple irregular binary fission over here, longitudinal binary fission over here. Now, Plasmodium malarial parasite reproduces by the process of multiple fission, in which within the cyst, the nucleus of the cell divides multiple times and surrounds itself by a small amount of cytoplasm later on and gets released later on. Cool. Now, the 3-marker question, my dear children. Write one main difference between asexual and sexual mode of reproduction. Which species is likely to have comparatively better chances of survival? The one reproducing sexually, or the one reproducing asexually or sexually? So, what do you mean by sexual reproduction and what do you mean by asexual? So, let's make asexual first. And this is sexual. In asexual, children, tell me, do you see fusion of gametes? Do you ever see fusion of gametes in asexual reproduction? In asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved, and they are going to do whatever with their body, but they are not going to help in fusion of the gametes. So there is no fusion of gametes, or basically I'll say no fertilization. And here I'm not writing the whole thing because the answer is written anywhere else. So anyways, it is fertilization is happening over here. Next thing that you can think of, can you give us some examples of asexual and sexual? Okay, or can you say asexual usually happens in simpler organisms, my dear children? Do you think that you can undergo asexual reproduction? Tomorrow I decide I'll cut my body into two and then I have two daughter Jasmine. That is possible? No, it is not possible. So basically, sexual reproduction usually happens in complex organisms and few simple organisms as well. Okay, then you can give example, binary fission, this and that. Here you can give examples of different things. Whom do you think will be having more amount of variation? Sexual reproduction. Why? Because two parents are being involved over here. So there is two genetic material coming together, my dear children. In asexual mode of reproduction, there is only one parent involved. So there is no new genetic material coming. Okay. There is no new genetic material coming. So your answer should go like this. In sexual reproduction, two opposite sexes are involved, whereas in asexual reproduction, only one individual is involved. Okay. In sexual reproduction, male and female gamete formation takes place, whereas in asexual reproduction, no gamete formation and no fusion also takes place. Okay. Now, sexually reproducing organisms have better chances of survival because more variations are generated as two different genetic materials, two different genetic material comes together in the progeny. Got it? Next question. What happens when accidentally planaria gets cut into many pieces? Have you seen a planaria? Planaria is a really cute guy. It's a flatworm, okay? This is planaria. What happens when planaria is getting cut? Basically, if it is getting cut, I'll show what happens. Suppose it is getting cut like this. It will be making a new body part over here. Similarly, if this is getting cut, this part that you see over here, this will be forming a new planaria body over here as well. So you have basically regenerated the body parts. So this method of cutting down things is known as fragmentation. This does not usually naturally happen in the case of planaria. It is usually an accidental procedure, but then your body undergoes something that is known as regeneration, and hence it regains the lost body parts. Now what happens when bryophyllum leaf falls on the wet soil? If the bryophyllum leaf falls on the wet soil, what will happen? Have you seen bryophyllum leaf? It looks like this. So at the notches, they have certain buds, children. They have certain buds, and these buds, if the leaf is falling down, so is the buds. These buds are known as adventitious buds. What do you call it? Adventitious buds. So the buds are rising. So usually buds arise from the, this is the stem, here is the another node, and here it comes the bud. This is known as axillary bud. Axillary bud, which will give rise to some branch or something like that. Similarly, you have buds arising at different location apart from here. You call them adventitious buds wherever they come. And these buds have the potential to give rise to a whole new plant. Basically, when the leaf falls down, these buds also fall down, and now these buds can give rise to a whole new plant over there. So that is what happens. Okay. Now on maturation, sporangium of rhizopus burst. Have you seen rhizopus? What is rhizopus, children? It is a bread mold. It is a bread mold. The green color, the blue color thingy that you see on the bread, it is known as rhizopus, or basically the bread mold. So what happens is that so it looks like this. It looks almost like this. This is known as mycelium. Mycelium is made up of hyphae. This is made up of hyphae. This is also made up of hyphae. Hyphae means it is like this. And here, this blob-shaped structure, no, you call this as sporangium. And now you are asked this question that what if the sporangium bursts? Sporangium, if it bursts, it will give rise to what? Spores. And spores are the reproductive structures. These spores that you see, they are covered, the spores that you see, they are covered by cyst, which helps them protect, okay, which helps them to be staying protected under any atmospheric condition. And whenever the moist atmosphere comes back, they will give rise to a whole thingy like this. Okay, so on maturation, sporangium of rhizopus bursts, then this will happen. So how you have to write your answer? You have to write your answer like this. When planaria gets cut into many pieces, each piece regenerates into a new planarian organism with the help of what? With the help of regeneration. Okay. When bryophyllum leaf falls on the wet soil, the buds that are produced in the notches along the leaf will develop into new plants by the process known as vegetative propagation. Okay, what do you call this? Vegetative propagation. So when the vegetative part, the leaf and all, is giving rise to a whole new plant, you call this vegetative propagation. Usually a new plant comes from the seed that is formed from the flower, right? So flower is a reproductive unit of the plant, but over here leaf is acting, or basically stem if it acts, or root if it acts, then you call this as vegetative propagation. Cool. Next thing, when the sporangia of rhizopus burst upon maturation, it releases spores which germinate into new mycelium in moist conditions. So they give rise to new mycelium in the moist condition. Now comes the now comes the 23rd question of 5 mark, that is, explain the following. So during reproduction, inheritance of different proteins will lead to altered body design. Do you think inheritance of different proteins will lead to altered body design? Yes, it will. So what happens, my dear children, is that we all have our DNA. The DNA has specific segments like this, which are known as genes, and genes, all of them, they code for proteins, and these proteins are responsible for all our characters. Okay, these proteins that you see are responsible for all our characters. इधर वीरे शायद आकाश परेशान करने ऐसे है, जा रहे हो तुम घर तो जल्दी, बॉस को बोलना पड़ेगा। बोल दिया किसी को 4:30 बजे, उससे पहले मैं आ जाऊंगी। मेरे को ख़त्म करने दो थोड़ा दिन, 10 मिनट। हैं, जा रहे हो? आ जाओ, चाय पी के मैंने तो 10 मिनट में चाय पियेंगे कि 10 मिनट में क्या करना है मुझे? खत्म हो गया। ठीक है। So we have genes over here, genes code for protein and protein gives rise to each character. For example, melanin is a pigment, is a protein pigment, and melanin gives rise to the colors that I have on my face. So different proteins, now this protein can be a lot of protein that is being released or a really less amount of protein being released. So suppose lots of melanin pigment is being released, that means my character becomes, my skin color would be very dark because melanin is responsible for darker pigmentation. If less amount of melanin is being produced, that means lesser pigmentation. So anyways, during reproduction, inheritance of different proteins will lead to altered body design. Yes, it will. It will lead to altered body designs because these proteins that you see, they are responsible for each and every character. Okay, so over here, what is the answer? Let's see. During reproduction, the information for inheritance of characters is passed on from the parents to the offsprings in the form of DNA. DNA in the cell nucleus is the information. Hence, the DNA copying is the basic event in reproduction. If the information during the DNA copying is changed, different proteins will be made, different proteins will eventually lead to altered body design. So, whenever the DNA is being copied and being sent to us, okay, in the progeny, okay, if there are copying errors, if there are changes in the genes which are there will be changes in the proteins and hence changes in the characters as well. Okay, cool. So, during reproduction, inheritance of different proteins will lead to altered body designs because each protein has been allocated for each character, and each protein is being shown up by each gene, okay. So if there is any change in them, this will happen. Now fertilization cannot take place in flowers if pollination does not occur. If pollination does not occur, do you think fertilization can happen? No. Why? Pollination is the one that carries pollen. Pollination is the one that helps in the transfer of pollen grains onto what? The stigma. Now this pollen grains had what? It has the male gametes. It has what? The male gametes. Now if the male gametes basically, if they are not going to come over here, will the fusion take place, my dear children? Will fertilization take place? No. So if pollination has not happened, fertilization would not be happening as well. Let's see the answer. The process of fertilization is the fusion of both male and the female gametes. If pollination does not occur, it means that the male gamete is not available, and hence fertilization would not take place. Now, all multicellular organisms cannot give rise to new individuals through the fragmentation or regeneration. All the multicellular organisms, like me, we cannot cut our body and then think that regeneration will be happening. No. Why is it so? Because we are complex organisms, my dear children, and complex organisms, basically each and every part of their body is linked. They have a cellular system, they have tissue system, the tissues comes in together and make organs, the organs come together and make organ system. So obviously there it is not possible. So it has to be well coordinated, and it does not happen like that. Okay, so simple organism, they just have to cut, give rise to whole new plant. So that is a different thing because they are simple, we are complex. So how do you frame the answer? Regeneration and fragmentation is only possible when the entire body part is made up of similar kind of cell. All multicellular organisms cannot give rise to new individuals through fragmentation or regeneration because the complex multicellular organisms have organ system level organization. That means they have organ system there. For example, stomach, intestine, everything is coming together to give the digestive system. This is the organ system. Now, this tissue in these organisms are highly differentiated to perform specialized function and cannot regenerate a new individual. Okay, it will not be able to regenerate a new individual. Now, so this and this is completed. Vegetative propagation is practiced for growing only some type of plants. Vegetative propagation is practiced for growing only some type of plants. Yes. Okay. What type of plants? Basically, the ones that do not have viable seeds and all. That do not have viable seeds. That means seeds, if they are put, they do not germinate. Okay, for example, banana does not have viable seeds. So those can be easily made with the help of vegetative propagation. Okay, or which has the parts for vegetative. For example, bryophyllum has the part. Okay, that has buds. The potato has tuber, which has buds. So these things can make vegetative propagation, which things can undergo vegetative propagation, whereas others would not be able to do that. So over here, I didn't like the answer, but yes, vegetative propagation is practiced for growing some type of plants because of the following advantages. It is used to grow a plant in which viable seeds are not found or very few seeds are produced, such as orange, banana, pineapple. It's more rapid, easier and cheaper method. By this method, good quality of race or variety can be preserved. So these both are the functions. I think you can just answer this, which I explained initially. Okay. Now, because in vegetative propagation, you do not see fusion of gametes and everything. So, you don't need seed there. You do not need seed there. So, the organisms which do not produce viable seeds, they can easily produce with that. The parents and the offsprings of organisms reproducing sexually have the same number of chromosomes. Why do you think the parents which are there, okay, my parents have 46 number of chromosomes. Okay, I also have 46 number of chromosomes. How is that possible? Basically, whenever gametes are being made, whenever the male gamete was made, it was made sure that the cells of the gamete, while the gamete formation was taking place, they underwent a division which is known as meiosis or reductional division. Meiosis or reductional division, where what happens, if this is a cell, if it has 46 number of chromosomes, it will undergo a division to give rise to two cells having half the number of chromosomes, my dear children. This is known as meiosis, and meiosis occurs in two stages. This is the first stage of meiosis. Then again the cell divides into two. This again divides into two. Don't think that it will again half, okay? This is the only time it halves, that was this, that's all. In the first stage of meiosis, it halves, that's all. Now you have second stage over here, again you have 23 chromosomes each. So it's all cool. Okay, so now 23 chromosome, this particular gamete, for example, this is a sperm. This gamete fuses with the egg. Egg is also undergoing meiosis, so it will also have 23. So 23 comes together in the zygote. How many chromosomes are there, children? 46. Okay, so it has to undergo a division, that is meiosis. It has to halve the number of chromosomes. What do you call this division as? Meiosis, or it is known as reductional division. So, gametes of sexually reproducing animals have half the number of chromosomes as that of the parents. During fertilization, when two gametes, that is male and female gamete, fuse, the offsprings produced will have the same amount of DNA or the same number of chromosomes as that of the parent. Why? Because they have half the number of chromosomes during a process that is known as meiosis or reductional division. Cool? Now, the last question that we have over here, which is a case study based question. The growing size of human population is cause concern for lots of people. The rate of birth and death in a given population will determine its size. Reproduction is the process by which organisms increase their population. Yes, right? The process of sexual maturation for reproduction is gradual and takes place while general body growth is still going on. Some degree of sexual maturation does not necessarily mean that mind or body is ready for the sexual act or for having and bringing up children, right? Obviously. For example, when you hit puberty, that is 13 age or 12 age, at that point you are sexually mature. But do you think you can take care of a baby? No. Even if you think you cannot take care, okay, let me tell you that. So basically that is all about this particular thing. We have to answer certain questions. There are 4 questions, okay? What should be maintained for healthy society? Rate of birth and death rate, male and female sex ratio, child sex ratio, none of this. For a healthy society, what has to be maintained? Tell. Actually, this question comes out to be wrong. For a healthy society, male and the female sex ratio, child sex ratio, none of this. Basically, it should be male and the female sex ratio. It has to be maintained. Just think there are lots of male, but there are less females. Do you think reproduction will happen? No. Do you think it's a healthy society that is going to be there? No. Same thing. If there are a lot of females, there is less males, then also same thing. So this becomes the answer. Okay. Which contraceptive method changes the hormonal balance of the body? Which contraceptive method is going to alter the hormonal balance? Where hormonal thing involved, that's where it will be altering. Condom is a physical thing. Okay, that's made up of latex or plastic. Okay, not plastic. It is made up of rubber latex. Okay, so it is a physical barrier. Diaphragm is also going to act like a physical barrier. So these are one method, okay, having 2 principles, but yeah, no, having the same principle. They are 2 different things having the same principle. That is, they are going to prevent the meeting of the sperm and the egg. That is the role of condom and diaphragm. Oral pills, they are a mix of hormones, progesterone and estrogen. So they are going to be creating a hormonal imbalance in the body, and that's how they are going to act like a contraceptive method. They are not going to allow the fertilization or basically fusion of the male and female gametes and stuff like that. So hence the childbirth or the fusion will be avoided. So this becomes the answer. Okay. Next question. Common sign of sexual maturation in girls is low pitch voice. No, they have high pitch voice. Appearance of moustache and beard, I think is for boys. Development of mammary glands, that means breast. Okay. Broadening of shoulder, no children. It will be development of mammary glands. This is the answer for girls. Now, what are the common signs of sexual maturation in boys? Broadening of the shoulder, development of mammary glands, broadening of waist, high pitch voice. These are all for girls. This is for boys, that is broadening of the shoulder. They will be having more muscular body rather than they had before. Okay, cool. With this, we are completing all the questions, my dear children. Okay. And now, if you're someone who is confused about what you should be doing after 10th, then there is something that is known as Diksha's Scholastic Aptitude Test. Take the test. It will help you understand what you should be doing after your 10th grade. That's a 60-minute concept-based lecture followed by an aptitude test, and depending on your marks that you get in the aptitude test, you will be having a one-on-one counseling with the counselor, and they will be suggesting you the best thing that you can do after your 10th. Okay, if you're in, then look for the description box. There you will find a link. Click on that and they will guide you further. So that's all, my dear little champions, and I hope you had fun. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel, that is Diksha Vedantu, and lots of love. Bye bye. Take care.